Hi, it's Verity here from the Wow Embossing Powder creative team, and welcome back to the Wow Embossing Powder YouTube channel. Today I'm getting creative with some of the newly released stencils from Wow Embossing Powder, which released on the craft store yesterday with Marion hosting and demoing it. Along with some newly released stencils, I'm also using some new stamps and embossing powders from Wow. So this is the new Snowflake Stencil released from Wow Embossing Powder. Ignore the packaging, I didn't have the new packaging for it yet, but I designed this beautiful snowflake stencil. So you get both the snowflake and the mask as well, so you can do several different techniques with this one stencil. Today I'm using it with some sparkles and I'm going to create my own glitter paste. But before I do that, I'm just going to position it over a piece of blue cardstock. This is a dark navy cardstock. And then I'm using my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station. This is such a useful sort of station to have when it comes to using your stencils, especially with multimedia through the stencils, because the magnets help keep it in place. So you're less likely to sort of move your stencil around as you're applying your mediums. So if you haven't got one of these, I really recommend having a look at them and thinking if there's something you would find useful. So to make my own glitter paste, I'm using some texture paste in transparent gloss paste, and I'm using this on a non-porous surface. So I've just got some old packaging from I think this is watercolour markers that I'm just using to mix my paste up on. I've added some paste with a palette knife onto this surface, and then I'm sprinkling some of the Brilliant Silver's Essential Sparkles into that and using my palette knife to mix it all up together. Once I've got a really good consistency, I can then start applying it through the stencil. With a lovely, beautiful stencil such as this that's quite intricate, don't worry about going fast. So I've sped this up for the video, but make sure you take your time applying the ink. Go gently as you apply it, because you're less likely to move your stencil around. You're less likely to get that paste moving and smudging underneath the stencil. So I start off just applying the paste through the actual sort of snowflake fronds first before I cover the circle in. Obviously with this snowflake, that circle area you could leave completely blank, allowing you to add or pop up sentiment up there, or you can colour it in like I've done and I filled it in with the sparkles paste. Obviously with stencils, the best part of stenciling is removing the stencil and doing that peel and reveal. With this stencil, I recommend peeling it quickly, so you're less likely to drop it and smudge it into your actual finished design afterwards. Now with this paste, you will want to clean the stencil quite quickly, or put it in some water to ensure it doesn't dry out and ruin your stencil. I'm just keeping this in because I did get a little bit of paste in a few areas where I wasn't quite happy about it, and it smudged ever so slightly. And all I'm doing is going in with a little metal spatula just to lift off some of the paste. So to finish this card off, I then placed it on a white card base once it was dry, and then I added a sentiment to the front of the card. This is a new sentiment from one of the sentiment stamp sets that I have designed for Wow that has released. It's called It's the Season. There's a beautiful script sentiment, and then there's several little smaller sentiments in a lovely solid font to stamp with it. I heat embossed this on vellum and added a sentiment strip, and then I finished the card off with just a few silver pearls. Okay, so for this second card, I am using the new Snowflake Dance Stencil, and this is from Martina, who's on the creative team as well. She's released this stencil with Wow Embossing Powder. Now to begin with, all I'm doing is again using my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, placing the stencil over some dark navy cardstock, and then keeping that in place with the magnets. And this time I'm just going over with some texture paste Opaque Matte White. And I'm just applying this through the whole of the stencil. So I haven't mixed this with anything at this stage. And I wanted the white snowflakes on the dark blue background. And with the peel and reveal, you get that beautiful contrast. But I wanted to add a little bit more glisten. Now, it doesn't show up so much on camera, but you can see it in person. Before the actual paste has a chance to dry, all I'm doing is then sprinkling over with the new embossing glitter. So this is powdered snow. inspired by Martina, and it comes in the new trio Winter Dreams. So it's a white powder that has beautiful glitter in it as well. So obviously because the paste is wet, it can stick to it. And what I did was I let this dry before I started to heat emboss the powder. So I did that because I didn't want the paste to bubble up under the heat. If it's dry before you heat emboss the powder, you will only be melting the powder and you won't be causing any bubbling with your embossing paste. And this, as I say, doesn't show up on camera or photographs really well because it's a very fine glitter in the powder. But in real life, when you catch it in the light, you do see some sparkle. So I finished it off by foam mounting it onto a white card base. And then I added a new sentiment from Marion that's released again yesterday. This reads Winter Wishes and Snowflake Kisses. I stamped this in the new red glitz embossing glitter, and this comes in, put it in the glitz trio, which has a lovely white, green and red, perfect for the holiday season. And although this is a holiday card, it is in a non-traditional colour scheme. I just felt like going for it, and why not when it comes to Christmas cards? They can be any colour scheme you want to create with. So for the last card, I'm using another stencil that has just been released with WoW. This is to go with my Confetti Circle and Heart stencils that I released last time with WoW in April. And this one is the Confetti Star. So again, it has a mask as well as the stenciled confetti design. And I've just positioned the mask in place because I don't want anything to go through that. I'm applying ink through the Confetti Star onto some navy cardstock. And then I'm going to do this 3 times, so I transfer the ink onto the card to get that confetti design. But I'm just repositioning where the star is and repositioning the design really. And I'm going for like a trio, so I'm getting a triangle pattern through the actual card design. I'm using a blending tool sponge applicator to apply the ink because this means I don't use up too much of my ink and leaving it sitting on that stencil. And this was a tip I picked up by Daniel from the creative team. So once I've got all of the areas inked up with the stencil, I can then cover it with some embossing glitter. And I'm going for the traditional gold, so I'm getting a lovely gold and blue colour scheme here. And I thought the star would just pop off that card beautifully. Now this card I don't turn into a Christmas card. I kept it with a sentiment that allows it to be used at various different times throughout the year. And it could also be for a birthday card, for any occasion really. If you get any powder excess where you don't want it, just use your paintbrush to remove that powder. Obviously the magic does happen when we heat emboss it and the pattern melts and you see that beautiful silhouette of the star with the confetti surrounding it. And I really loved this design. It took a few tweaks to get the stuck confettis in the right place, believe me. The amount of time I've sat there and agonised over every little circle to ensure that it is perfect and looks correct and it gives the right sort of star design. This could also work really well just as the star on its own. You can add a star die cut over the top of it, so there's quite a lot of different possibilities. So I stamped a sentiment called Make a Wish from the Happy Birthday Sentiments stamp set that was released in the last release. And I added a few gold embellishments, sequins to embellish. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look at these new stencils and getting creative with them. Let me know in the comments below which one of these stencil designs was your favourite, or which card you feel like you could have a go at. If you're new to the channel, why not think about subscribing? You can hit that bell icon to be notified when the next video is up. And you can also find a code on screen for 10% off WowEmbossingPowder shop. Just enter the code, you'll see it on screen. Until next time, happy crafting!